So for today, I figured I'd open up, kind of mess around with Qutebrowser for a little bit more, kind of like get a couple more things situated, make it feel like a more fully featured browser per se. So first of all, I know a lot of people have a lot of criticisms about it. It's still one I kind of rely on for some things. You notice that, like in a lot of videos, when I am showing websites and all, I'm generally using Qutebrowser. That's because it's got a smaller UI than a lot of the web browsers out there, and it's also got the features as well that something like Surf doesn't have. So, first of all, what exactly did I do with Qutebrowser this time? Kind of like change in my configs and all in order to make it more usable, and what can you use to bounce off of that to make it fit more of your workflow? So the first thing would be, so I've had, oh, let's get the right one. So I've had these two lines basically, if you remember before. So one thing that I had run into is I'd forgot I didn't have one to open the current URL that was open. So I've got this line here that basically does that. It'll open up the current URL. So if I have a video that I am looking at, then it'll open that up automatically. Let me actually... Okay, zoom in a little bit. So yeah, you've got these ones that were already there. So the tab pin does the obviously, it pins a tab. So if I go back to, and I open a new tab with, say, DuckDuckGo, and I go and pin tab, you can see that it actually pins the tab in the location where it's at. So it creates it smaller, it makes it a pinned tab, but it doesn't change the position of it. So you can always move that around as you see fit and stuff like that, if I can remember the shortcut for it. Well, you get the idea. Yes, I want to close the pin tab. You can move that around. It's in the configs that lets you move it around. But, and then I've showed off the MPV thing before, and that one obviously works the way you know it to work. So the next thing is that I added was this little one with the colon cap or semicolon capital I. So before, I was looking at doing semicolon I, but if I go, let's use, yeah, this is revealing too much. Let's actually go and look at the Mudcrab Merchant one. So what it does is semicolon I just opens up the hints on all images. So if I hit that, it just navigates to it. So what colon capital I does is it brings up the hints again, same way, except it downloads it, and I've configured it to show the output of wget as messages from the output messages thing here. I tried to use the TACM, just the shorthand for it, but for some reason it was erroring out on me. So I ended up doing that. Prefix, you can find the wget info for that in the man pages. I tried to use environment variables for like the home folder bit, but it didn't quite work out that way. So that's a thing unto itself. I'm gonna skip this part real quick. So the ad block stuff, I've gone over before. I did add a couple different lists to it and switch a few things around. So it does have a few more of those in it. But I had to create I had to take another stand-in solution in order to get YouTube's, in order to get the in-video ad to skip, basically, instead of showing it. So I've got a user script that does that for me, basically, and I will show that off in a bit. Default page is basically what opens in a new tab when you give it a blank page. So if I go Shift O and I just leave it empty, it'll basically show the about blank. You can set that to anything that you want if you really want to. And then my start page is obviously my circs instance. Oh. Let's see. So we've got the pinned tab format. So index and audio, I have it showing no names at all. So you just get like what index the tab is, and it's one based, obviously. And then whether it's got audio playing as well. Background tabs is true. I've just got the default for background tabs set is middle click is all. And then we've got the title format. So this is for like your title bars if it's showing, or if you've got a taskbar type deal, it'll show up in the bottom here like it does in Awesome. So you can see that it shows that exact thing. So if I go and I load up another web page, you can see that it shows the percent and the URL until it figures that out. So it shows the current title, and then it separates it, and then it puts in whatever custom thing I put back here. So you can name that whatever you want it to be in that portion. And I find it pretty cool. So the tabs are alternating colors. So if I open a few tabs, you can see that it's alternated back and forth. It used to be all like a gray, but now it's dark gray and gray in between. And then, so for my blocking method, I have ad block, which is a Brave ad block, which I've talked about in a previous video as well. So the next thing in my config that's important is the pass integration. So Qutebrowser, if you are installing from like the Arch or any Arch-based repos like Artix or things like that, Qutebrowser pretty much comes with user scripts for Pass, Bitwarden, and I think one or two others for password management. So what that looks like, is it's a pretty it's kind of cool how it works. So if we go and I open if I open my Pleroma instance, so I'm currently logged in. So we can log out. We can, okay, see? And then we can go to the box here. And all I have to do is enter, so you've got the base, so basically if I just enter that, and then I can hit enter. I can hit enter or hit login. And it basically puts in my password for me. So what I'm using is the Pass integration. I'm just using Pass, not Bitwarden or another one. So it has the OTP as well. If you need that for certain accounts, you can add that. But you've got the option to do username only. So if the form you're filling in only has a username section, you do have that option. So the option most people are familiar with is like, Google doing that. So you'll go and enter your email or whatever, and then you'll enter your password. So you also see that in a couple different single sign-on integration options. Yeah. So, I know, very, very keen of me. So if I were to go and I were to sign in here, you can see it does the same thing. It gives me the username, and then I can hit next. And then it asks for the password. I haven't put my password in for this one as of yet, or registered it in pass. So what we can actually do is so for those that don't know how to do this, what you can do is you can go pass and insert. And so the way that the way that QtPass uses it, the user script, we can dive into it, is it'll basically search for an entry. If it's finds multiple, it'll use some sort of D menu type thing, or Rofi or D menu or something, whatever you give it, to give you the list to take your pick. But what it looks for is the site ID. So if I go ID and then I'm basically so I put in the website, basically the URL it's going to search for. It basically does a fuzzy find, so I could leave the subdomain off pretty much and it would still find it. And then I will enter the username, and what it does then is once I enter it, it asks me for the password for that site. So I enter the password. So there are actually plugins for Pass that lets you edit the information, because in Pass by default you do have to remove it in order to change the password. So if you put the password in wrong, then that can become an issue. So you have to redo it over again. So if I look at my config, I've got the option for password only. So I can go EP and it puts it in from the one account that I have registered for it. I gotta pull my keys out. And then, yeah, so it passed. I put it in right. I was kind of worried about that. Sadly, this doesn't have integration for your authentication keys. So Qutebrowser out of the box actually lets you do the YubiKey and whatnot. So I've got what is it? Basically the cheaper YubiKey from Yubico. And so Qutebrowser actually has integration for that. So it's not lacking in that department. So the next thing you might be wondering is like YouTube ads. So it all works pretty well with QtPass out of the box, but we have to deal with YouTube ads. So how do we take care of, like, get rid of those? How do we skip those? Because the current ad block situation has basically left us in an interesting position. So this YouTube ad skip script, this is like the later version, which for some reason didn't work. So this is the current one that I have in, kind of like right here. This is kind of the first initial one. So basically it looks for it, it clicks the ad skip thing. So if I go to YouTube, is it going to really skip an ad if I go to it? So for the number of ones that I've tried so far, it has worked pretty well. So you can see the ad is trying to come up. It's 30 seconds and basically takes long enough to load. It automatically skips and goes into the video basically. And I haven't really had problems with ads popping up in the middle so far from what I've basically gone through. for like the last day and a half when I've been messing around with it. So the user script actually works pretty well. Oh, and then of course I have a Discord theme that doesn't seem to want to work currently, which is interesting, but that'll be something I'll figure out later on. So, but I might have to play around with the include lines, but basically the Discord theme is the same one I have running in Vivaldi. But for the most part, that's basically most of my config. That kind of gives you an idea of kind of where you can go off of. So, like, this config bind basically came off of me kind of going through the documentation of blah. So I went through the documentation, and so you can sit here. So the configure browser, this is all offline. So if you happen to be in a place that doesn't have internet, it's offline. It's basically in the browser. And so you can go through this, and it'll tell you like how you can mess with the config, the different ways to put in the stuff for it. And since it's in Python, you can use Python in your config as well. So you can add those different settings in. The other thing that it has is the documentation of commands, which is one thing I was referring to back and forth. So it gives you everything that you need for this. You don't really have to think about it. It even gives you things that I don't have in my config or that I don't think are even in the default config. So if we were to look for, say, let's go to the, where's the open? So you can see that like open, you might not really think about private all that much, but it does have a private setting. It even has a secure to force HTTPS by default. And of course, the new window and things, it has commands even for letting you move tabs between windows and moving a command into a private, moving a tab into a private session. So you can take and pop out a tab into a different private window so that you can see how it looks in there, or explore further in there if you're doing something sketchy that you don't want someone at home to find. Oh. And then I think finally, so the interesting thing about Qutebrowser is when I ran browser audit on it, I found it kind of funny, like what it came up with. So I believe this should pull up the results. Okay, it's gonna run real quick. But basically it passed better in Qutebrowser, or this or Pale Moon basically tested better than Vivaldi, which was interesting to me. So, I think I will pause and then come back once it's done. This is what the browser audit looked like. Most of this, when I looked through it before, I believe a good number of this had to do with the way that I could configure Qutebrowser. So again, Qutebrowser gives you a lot of options for configuring and doing certain things. There are probably certain things with sandboxing that might be a little bit tougher to work around with. But basically, this can kind of give you an idea of what Qutebrowser kind of looks like on a proper audit, basically. So, I mean, it's not, you don't have anything critical. These 20 that are skipped have been the same 20 that I've seen across like the browsers that I've tried. So you can always, use this. I thought I used that link before, but I guess now it just oh, never mind. Okay, but yeah, there it is. If you found this helpful, if it gave you some ideas for like things you can do with like other browsers of the same type, keep in mind that this can apply to LuaKit, or I think in some cases Vieb, or any of the others like that that basically use a scripting backend and let you do like keyboard commands in it and are somewhat minimal UI. So you can scream at me on Discord and things like that, or Gilded, or XMPP, all like chat protocols. I've pretty much linked them all. Um, I've got gimme money links. So anyway, I will see you all in the next one.